There is something I really wanted to talk to you about, which is my blogs. They have been an inspirational piece of my creativity, and I have been doing this for a long time. I used to call it Goddess Rants, and God will just drop something in my spirit, and I will write it and I will run with it. It's not just about sharing to others, but also for myself. It has helped me a whole lot. And so I would be coming up with a few more of these blogs, but I started with um, the secrets of power and what power means, and how to pick a side, because in the world we live in today, it is evident that the things of life is pushing us, because these are the end times. It is pushing us to a point where you have to pick a side because of the world we live in right now. You cannot survive anymore just in the gray area. You have to pick a side. So I decided to do that first, because that was like a key piece of my revelations that God has been given to me, that has helped me personally in my life, and that I wanted to share with the world. Another one is the mindset. Is all about your mind. I have been through a whole lot, especially when my brother was going through his mental illness, and I had to take care of him, and I had to see him do so many things and lose his mind and be ridiculed and be, you know, I was victim as well, because the stigma that was it was transferred to me as well, and so many people still even go around talking that I'm crazy too, and I don't mind if I'm crazy for Jesus. But what I'm saying is there are so many people that go through that stigma, and it's hard to get out of it. And those of you who've gone through any mental illness, depression, and schizophrenia, bipolar, whatever, it takes a lot to get out of it. And so I want to speak to that, but essentially I want to speak to the mind as a whole, and talk about how you could set your mind above the things of this world, just like Christ taught us to do, and how you could renew that mind every single day. And so, some of these blogs that I'm pushing out there, I just want you to read it, and take whatever you can from it, because it's going to change your life. It's going to do a whole lot of it's going to make a whole lot of difference in your life, and obviously for your loved ones as well. So, especially now that we have a lot of things happening around us, that it shows that people are depressed as a result of this pandemic and so much more. Really imperative for us to learn a little bit more about the mind and how we can train our mind, especially when most of us, especially those of us who are in Christ and who are in God, are faced with so much, surmountable difficulties, that it has to take the training of your mind. It has to take a real resilience for you to overcome, especially if you're juggling a lot of things. And so I'll be talking to you about how you could train your mind, in Mind Over Matter. That's the title of that blog, Mind Over Matter. So how can you train your mind and set your hearts on things above and not of things of this world? You read Mind Over Matter. It's available on my website, www.jcpgospel.com.
Hi, everyone. So, today I'm going to talk about giving. Um, this is a crucial topic in the body of Christ, and also with non believers as well. People who have, kept away from the church have often attributed it to the fact that oh, the church is asking for money, oh, they're using the money to do stuff that is not um, according to God's will, and they're stealing or they're using it for something else. Um, so I want to address a couple of things. The first one is the example of giving. Jesus is our example of giving. He gave his life in that while we were yet sinners, he died for us. So giving should not be anything that has conditions to it. You need to like me first before I give to you. You need to know, you need to do something for me first, or I should know that I'm getting some benefit before I give. No, giving has to be without conditions, because that's the example we see from Christ. He died for us even when he wasn't sure whether we're going to accept him or not, when he didn't know the status of our hearts, because each of us was given choice. Another thing that I find very, very interesting is when you give God something, he makes sure that that particular thing, you never struggle for it. If you give God your money, you will never struggle for it. Yeah, it will get tough sometimes, but he always comes through. He always comes through. um I remember there was a time that I was struggling for a vehicle, and so one morning God just woke me up to go. It's in my book if you want to read it, read about it. I woke up just one morning and he told me, go to this dealership and tell them you need a vehicle. And I did just that, and I got a vehicle, long story short. But yeah, when I was driving in the vehicle and I was thanking God, God told me, he just reminded me of the day I gave a whole vehicle to God. Um, and he told me, if you did that for me, I would never let you walk in the streets with your kids and struggle for a vehicle. To a point that God gave me a whole business, Pick Me Up Tulsa, that deals with luxury cars and subscription rides. He honors his word. He honors his word. When he gives you, when you give to him, he will give you back 100-fold. He will give you back 100-fold, to a point that even when the devil tried to mess up the things, so that you don't experience the fullness of blessings, God comes through to the silence of your neighbor, of your enemies. He will just silence them, you know every single time. Until now, I don't even have any loans. I was pushing for car loans, and God said, I don't even want you to have a car loan. I'm going to bless you in such a way that you don't even need any of these loans that you've been stressing out for, because God is faithful. God is faithful. And God wanted me to just take a rest, take a break. And he blessed me in several other ways, not just cars or businesses, but in several other ways. And so it's but natural for me to give back to him. It's just natural. Talking about forgiveness, as a form of gift giving, is something that I have been using as a topic for a long time, that when I was ever given a time to speak, because forgiveness is also a means of giving, to people who hurt you or who continuously do stuff that you're upset about, or are detrimental to you or to your soul. And then forgiveness does not have to mean that we have to kiki, and but it is good for the soul. So it's a means of releasing the toxic energy and the negativity, and see that person as a human being, someone who is prone to make mistakes, and put yourself in their shoe, because sometimes some people do certain things because of certain aspects of their life that they might have gone through, maybe a trauma or something. It's not an excuse, but sometimes it's just a means of you trying to understand, because sometimes it's hard to forgive when you don't fully understand why they did certain things. So that has helped me in my journey to fully forgive people, because I try to put myself in their shoe, trying to understand how they might have felt or what was going through their minds when they did certain things. But for your mental health, your physical health, your emotional health, there are certain people you need to stay away from, even though you have forgiven them, even though you have let them go in your heart. That's also a gift to yourself. So even as you're giving a gift of forgiveness to others, remember that you are first. Okay, give that gift to yourself too. The gift of peace and the gift of a settled mind, because there are some people who God will tell you, this person is not for you, or this person is jealous towards you, this person has ill motives towards you. And when God shows you those people and they prove it through their actions, because you don't act um don't act out of paranoia. Some people just say but there are some things you got to wait until they show it to you. But when they do show it, act on it. Don't just naively think, oh, I'm good. No, don't be naive about it. Go on and investigate, but be sure that you take action. So apart from forgiving, which is also a means of giving, there is also sowing into others, sowing into future, sowing into people that not necessarily would give you back. Like my mom, who was a guidance counselor, and she sewed into so many kids' lives. And back then I was like, why is my mom spending so much time with other kids and their problems and their parents? There was a time she actually dragged me into someone's one of the kids' houses, where we had to go confront her dad, that was her stepdad, that was beating the kid. And she had marks. She came to school with marks. And my mom, she was the guidance counselor and the teacher of that child. She went all the way to go to the kid's house to confront the stepdad. And as a result, that kid became free. Like, she eventually was like a daughter to my mom, and always looked, sometimes she even called my mom mommy. And that was very interesting for me, but it made me see that years later I reaped from that, the benefits of being a daughter of such a kind-hearted woman. I would walk into banks, government offices, local businesses, and people know me because they knew my mom. Ladies who used to attend that school would be like, is that Mrs. Elliott's daughter? Come sit over here. Let's help you out. What do you need? Banks, I never stood in line. There would always be someone who would see me, spot me in the line, and call me up, or, sort out whatever I came to sort out. Post offices, law offices, different places where my mom taught them in school, and I read from that benefit. Even when I was going through my DV case, the domestic violence, the police that stood there to look after my kids, when I was on the way there, he didn't even have to do that, but just the concern, just the help. He waited for me to come all the way to come take the kids. Even the social worker, the people that rallied around me, the people that stood up for me in court and went over and over on my behalf. I didn't even have to go to court. Those are the people that would fight for you as a result of what you sowed. So if you sow kindness, you would reap kindness. If you sow evil, if you sow all these malice and jealousy and envy and witchcraft, you would reap those. And God does not forget your labor of love, the same way he doesn't forget certain consequences. Like, even if you are forgiven, like, even if for example, like when he forgave Peter, he forgave Paul, and but they did not escape judgment, because that's how God, you will still suffer the consequences, even if it's not this generation. Sometimes your children's children would suffer the consequences of your actions. And so whatever you sow, you would reap. And so giving is not just money, but when it also comes to money, make sure you give 10%, at least 10% of your income. Now, you don't necessarily have to give it to church. For example, I used to do that. I used to give my 10% to church, but now I share it. It depends on how much I get, but there are certain people that work in certain churches that I don't personally trust. So it's not that they'll take your money or anything. I've had some experiences with certain people, so it makes me very cautious as to how I spend my money, or where I put my money, or how much certain people know of my income and my sources of income. So I always try to make sure that I still give my 10%, even if I'm not giving all of it to the church. I give it to the poor. I invest in other people. I give it out to people that I love, or people that I admire, or people that have sold into me, that and people that even don't like me. There are certain people, I just send money to them. They probably would not even know that I did that, but it's just who I am, and it's just in obedience to God. So giving on a whole is just an act of, I've been blessed and I choose to bless others. That's all. God bless.